based business that could use more business, could use more referrals. Well, if that's you, then I invite you to, hey, spend the next few minutes with me on this video, and I'm going to share with you how you can start generating more referrals in your business through better connection with your clients. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Bill Unich, and I'm the author of the Referability Roadmap, the guide to building a referral-based business. And so this is, if you're just tuning in for the first time of seeing me, welcome. This is actually part 3 of a 7-part series that I am doing on how to generate more referrals in your business using what I call a 36 Connect framework of having consistent communication with our clients and our database. And so whether you're in real estate, mortgage, insurance, financial services, you may be watching this, you may be a pressure washer, or you may some other service, roofing, HVAC. All of us know that are in the service-based world is referrals at times are the lifeblood of our business. And it is the best thing that we can get because, right, it's the least expensive way to acquire a customer is to have someone that already likes, and trust us to have them refer someone to us. And so that's what I'm focusing on with this training. This is the same training that I teach my students and my one-on-one clients. And so you can go back and watch the first 2 parts of this, because what I did is using this 36 framework. So we talked about, in the first one, we talked about email, right? Of how to utilize email. So we want to be coming from a place of sharing and bringing goodwill, value to our clients, our database. And then last one yesterday, I talked about direct mail, the importance and the power of direct mail, and how different that can look from, whatever that you want to send from with your, that's a postcard, that's a letter, whatever that may look like. So go back, make sure you watch those. They're less than 30 minutes. I'll do my best to keep them as short as possible, but to still deliver content that you will find useful and to be able to start using. So where are we today? So we talked about what we're going to do on a monthly basis. Okay. Now what we're doing is the way I broke this down to is what we do monthly, quarterly, biannually, and annually, right? So what we're going to talk about today is quarterly. What are the 2 things quarterly that we want to be doing with our database? And so again, when you hear me talk about database, it's going to be anyone inside of your world. That could be your network, your sphere of influence. These are should be all your current customers, your current clients. And depending on what industry you're in, for example, you'll hear me say also your past clients. So if you're in the world of real estate or mortgage, right, where we don't have recurring in that, like we do say if I'm managing someone's portfolio in the financial services world, or they have an insurance policy that is, it's a recurring thing. Because a lot of times, you'll hear that and go, oh, well, if they're a past client, then there was somebody else. There may be something to be said about still marketing to those people, because if they left you for somebody else cheaper, that may change at some point in time. So we want to be connecting, and we're connecting with people that know us already. So either we have done business with them, okay, and I have a categorization framework that I use with my clients and students, is putting people into 3 buckets, pillars, whatever you want to call those, A, B's, and C's. And by when we sort that, then we know based upon the value that those people have to our business. And when you hear me say value to the business, is like, for example, our A clients those are going to be people that are doing business with us multiple times a year, 2 or more, or they're referring us 2 or more times a year. And then we have our B's, that are all of our current clients. And then what I call the C category, these are all the people that we know that haven't done business with us yet or haven't referred us. And so when we do that and we set that up, and we know exactly, we have 3 simple categories that everyone's going to fit into. We don't have a miscellaneous category. And this allows us to be able to market to those people based upon that value. But what I'm teaching today is this 36 Connect framework is building in the consistency. one of the things that, as I've looked, and now over 3 decades of running and owning service-based businesses, coaching and consulting service-based owners as well, is the big thing is consistency in staying in contact with people. When people tell me, hey, I'm not getting very many referrals, and I can do a quick audit on their follow-up or their communication system and see it right away, to where it's like, one, you don't have your people categorized, and you're not consistently doing. You may send something out 1 month and you go a couple of months, right? We have to be consistent in this. And this is what this system has worked for me in my real estate business, using it every single day. We were able to generate over 100 transactions on average year over year, and do that with 94% of that business being referred business. We didn't buy leads. We didn't cold call. We didn't do all the other stuff. Now, if you're doing that and it's working for you, hey, all good. I would say is then add this to this. If you're awesome at cold calling and doing all that, is then tapping into these people. Because again, you hear me talk about this and you'll hear me repeat this, is that why it's so important is that on average, everybody knows 250 people. So if we have a database of 100 people, we think about that. But if everybody knows 250, now we have a potential reach of 250 people. And it just becomes a mathematical equation. It's like, hey, the more people that know me, what I do, right, and I know them, there's more opportunities. So just kind of bringing you up to speed on kind of where we've been. Now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about, what we're going to do on quarterly. Right. So every quarter, what we want to do is that we want to be making a phone call. Now, I know what's going to come up, and this is probably the one that's always probably I find is the biggest challenge, because now when we're doing email and we're doing direct mail, that's all going to be, I need another L here, is going to be passive. And what I mean by passive is that it's passive. I'm sending an email. I'm not having, you can communicate through that. But when we start now getting voice to voice or face to face with people, in such as a phone call, it's different. This is where it becomes more powerful. And this is where I would say is that where most people that I find, whether you're the business owner, where you're a commissioned salesperson in the service-based world, is making those calls on a consistent basis. Because what comes up most of the time is like, well, I don't want to feel salesy. I don't want to feel pushy. I don't want to feel like I'm begging, for referrals. And I will tell you this, no one does. And I get that, including me. This is why that we have to, if we do this the right way, it doesn't come across that way. And again, I want you to remember is that the people that you're calling are people that actually know you. So these aren't cold calls. Now, if you're calling someone and they have no idea who you are, then that's another issue. And if you bought some form of a mailing list and all of those things, that's a whole different deal. I don't train people on cold outreach and to do that. I'm not saying that it doesn't work. It's just that's not the way that I've built and looked to build businesses, because I've done that. I find this way to be more effective, and to be honest with you, a lot more enjoyable. And it's also, I find, to be more profitable. So let's dig into that. Let's talk about the phone call. So on a minimum, and what you're going to hear me say this is at a minimum, we want to be having a conversation with people in our database once a quarter. Okay. Now, you heard me talk about having your database categorized, right? But based upon the value of people in your business, talking about your A clients, is those people, because those are your advocates, that's going to be a smaller group, is you want to have a lot more frequent conversations with them. For example, I coach and teach my people is you want to be talking to those people once a month. I know. It's like, oh my God. So why am I saying that on quarterly? I'm looking at this as at the bare minimum, because our C people that are our C category, that's our minimums. We want to talk to those people at least once a quarter. And what we're looking to do is like, how do I move someone that's in the C category to a B, meaning is they haven't done business with me yet. And through communication, through bringing them value, goodwill, get them to either refer or to do business with me, then they move them to a B. Then how do I move them from a B to an A? Meaning is, how do I get them to refer me multiple times? Or depending on the situation, right? What industry you're in, to do business with me, multiple times a year, depending on what that looks like. So there's a process to that. But what I want to talk about today is making sure that we're picking up the phone on a quarterly basis, and we are reaching out to our database. And again, these are people that we know. And the thing about it is that there's so much call reluctance. And even when you know that the people that you're calling are going to be receptive, because we build these stories in our head around like, well, I don't want to bug them, I don't, they may be busy, I don't want to feel needy, right? So we create all these stories because what we think is, we think that they're thinking about us, and it's going to be weird. Or if we haven't talked to them in a amount of time that has gone by, and maybe we haven't done a great job with, right, our client engagement or follow up, and we're like, it's going to seem weird, I haven't talked to them in 6 months. That's okay, because they're not thinking about you. They really, really aren't. 99.9% of the people, because we think about ourselves. Think about in your own world of people that you do business with. Is it maybe your insurance, if it's, and hopefully it's not, but your insurance agent. It could be, I hope it's not your financial advisor, because they should be in more contact with it, but they may not be. And think about, when was the last time they called me? And you're not thinking about it until you think about it. So now you're thinking about it because I brought it up, right? So they're not thinking about why you haven't called them necessarily, right? Hopefully that you stayed in good communication with them. So I'm going to challenge you is to step out into that, out of that fear and into this, and just calling them up and just saying, hey, it's Bill. Cause they know you, like, hey, and here's the thing. I was thinking about you. I was I was in your neighborhood. There's something that I saw that reminded me of you, whatever that is that you know about them, right? You share the same liking for, let's just say, for example, for college sports, right? For college football, it's getting ready to be, as I'm recording, not recording, as I'm live now, we're in August, and, football season is getting ready to start, and so it's like, hey, I was thinking about you because you like the same team. I'm a Florida State Seminole fan, as you can tell, right? From there. So we have that commonality of calling. It's like, hey, I was just thinking about you. Can't believe that, it's already, oh my gosh, right? And we just have that conversation. We're not calling to pitch and to sell them anything. Now, if you are specifically wanting to call and reach out to your database, I'm going to give you an example of this, of what I call a business call. And that is because you have something specific that you want to ask them about. And this is one of the things that I did when I was running my real estate business, is that depending on different markets, and when there was a tight market, a tight seller's market, and we had buyers that were looking for a house, and then we couldn't find it. They're like, hey, they want to be in this certain neighborhood. And I'm like, okay, I know I've got clients that live in that neighborhood. I would call them. Literally, I call them and just say, hey, Steve, it's Bill. Hey, you got a couple of minutes for a business call. And I'm setting the tone at the beginning by letting them know, hey, I'm calling, this is related to business. And because they know it. Okay. I don't want to have a pretense of like, where I'm like, oh, well, this, and like, hey, because I value their time. I value my time. It's like, hey, you got a couple of minutes for a business call. And immediately it changes. They're like, yeah, what's up? Like, hey, so here's what's going on. We've got these clients. They're looking for a property. They're pre-approved. They're ready to go. They're great. They're solid. They want to be actually in your neighborhood. I know you're not, I know you don't, I'm not calling you to sell your house unless you want to. But hey, do you know anyone in your neighborhood that, hey, dude, that's talked about it, that may be open to having a conversation, because these people are ready to go, and we're struggling to find, inventory in that neighborhood. You see what the difference of that is that it's just to ask, right? And I'm going to them. And when people call you and they're like, because I've called him because, because they live in the neighborhood, but it also puts them in a place of like authority, and people feel good about that. Think about if someone calls you, like, I'm calling you, like, hey, because you're connected. You live in the neighborhood, you know a lot of people. And see where that conversation looks like. And so then I'm asking, hey, if you hear of that, would you do me a huge favor? Would you connect me with that person? Just to have a conversation, right? Obviously, I don't know if it's going to work for them until we obviously see the house and what that would look like, but these people are ready to go. Yeah. You know what, my neighbor, and so whatever comes out of that, they may just say, you know what, my neighbor's been talking about that. He's getting actually transferred to Colorado. And I'm like, hey, would you do me a favor? Would you be willing to put me in contact with him so I have a conversation? Yeah, absolutely. Right. Whatever. Right. You see where this goes. So that's a different way of having and if you want to have a business call and you need someone's help in doing it, it's like, and I was always say, it's like, hey, I want to, these are really good people. I'd love to get that way. You're getting a good, getting a good neighbor. Me personally, I use humor in a lot of the things, the way I, if you've been around me, in how I do things. And so if that's not your, then whatever that works for you, but you can do that as a business call. If not, it's just like, hey, I was thinking about you. And it's no more like, hey, and I'm like, we haven't talked. And so I was, hey, how's your summer going? Can't believe, kids are back in school. Hey, what's going on? What kind of projects are you guys? Hey, you guys got anything projects going on in the house? As I'm connected. I have a bunch of people, like whether that's plumbing, roofing, electrical, painters, all that kind of stuff. And you just talk to people like you're talking to friends. That's it. It's not like we don't need to use NLP. I'm not trying to like do all this stuff or stuff. I'm just being real and just checking in with people. And what happens is they're just like, oh, and what 99% of the time is going to happen out of this phone call is I don't even have to say, talk about my business. There's a point that's going to come. And I'm just telling you that they're going to go, hey, what's going on in real estate right now? Right. What's going on in the insurance world? I live in South Florida and insurance, it's crazy down here right now. Right. So whatever business that you're in, hey, if you're a financial, what's going on with the stock market? What's happening? It crashed the other day. Now it's back, whatever. Hey, thanks for asking. And then there's where you can then get into a conversation. Hey, this is what's going on right now. There's a lot of misinformation. And, one of the things that we're looking for right now, and if you've got a specific thing, just share it with them, right? It's not begging. They've asked you, you're having a conversation. It's just kind of like going, hey, right now we're looking for, we got some great, if I'm in the mortgage world and say you got a great first-time home buyer program, we've got a great first-time home buyer program that, whatever that looks like, is like, hey, so if you run across somebody that, that maybe first-time home buyer, for example, newly, people that just got married, maybe graduated college or whatever that looks like, that fits into that scenario, is share that with them, because then they can think about that. They're like, oh, who do I know that just recently got married or getting married that may want to buy a house, right? So this is how these phone calls start to change, and and they're going to change because I want you to change the way that you think about these. This is I'm telling you, the single biggest challenge right here, this little thing right here. And I don't even have my phone when I record, I don't even have my phone I can't even show you my phone because I don't keep it in my office because it is such a distraction, right? At times. But so many people have having call reluctance. And this is call reluctance to people that they know that when they don't have to tell them who they are. They just answer the phone like, hey, Bill, what's going on? It's like, oh, hey, right. And we can go into that conversation and we check in with people. And that can be a 5 or 10-minute phone call. Maybe it's 20, whatever it is, right? Depending on the person. And here's the thing. If you don't reach them, you don't have to leave them. Don't try to trick them like, oh, hey, I really need to talk to you, blah, 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 right? And then it's like, I'm freaked out. Like, hey, what's going on? What do you need? Oh, there's a script on like, hey, I really need your help. Call me back. Why would you do that? Like, don't do that. Okay. I'm just telling you, it's weird. And so the issue of it is that you want to be able to, when you're connecting with these people, and it's just coming from, and asking questions, being more interested than interesting. Okay. And then if you don't reach them, just leave them a voicemail. Hey, Bill, just calling in today. Hey, I was thinking about you. I was just wanting to see how you guys are doing. I hope you're having an awesome summer. Hey, when you get a chance, hey, I'd love to catch up. Right. That's it. People will tell you, different people in the sales will tell you not to, don't leave a voicemail, call them back, all of this other stuff. Think about how you would receive that if you were on the other end. Do unto others as you would you want to be done to you. Okay. I don't need to call them 5 times. It's like I left a voicemail. They're more than likely going to play that voicemail. And more than likely, they probably aren't going to call me back. And that's okay. But for that moment, when they hear my voice, like, oh, hey, it's Bill. He's in whatever industry, right? I know he's in insurance. He's thinking about me. That's cool. Hey, I really appreciate you seeing how my summer went. That's awesome. And they may call you back. If they don't, that's okay. We're going to call them next quarter, right? Because we're going to do this quarterly. Even if we talk to them, because I'm going to tell you, it's just like people forget. It's like, man, it's been, that amount of time because everyone is so busy. So we have to get out of our head. It's like, well, I only need to call them once a year. No, you need to call them quarterly. And then you can have those conversations, whether that's a business conversation if you're needing their help in something. And it's not begging for referrals, because I'm not calling going, oh, hey, who do you know that thinking about maybe that needs new homeowners insurance, because no one knows anyone that needs that, right? But as you're talking to people and you're being real, and then it's like, hey, this is what's going on. When they ask you about your business, then it's just like, hey, this is one of the things that we're seeing going on in the market right now. And I can attest to this because I'm going through it right now, is homeowners insurance. So if I'm a local insurance agent here in South Florida, I'm calling my database, because there's 99% of them that aren't, and just reaching out going, hey, here's what's going, what we're seeing. Being proactive, especially if you know something is going to happen, is connecting with them. The biggest thing, and I said this, I think on both of my previous trainings on over the last couple of days, is people leave you over lack of communication. I've never, and I will tell you this, in 3 years of running and owning businesses, coaching and consulting with people, right, around businesses, I've never had somebody say, Bill, we're not going to continue to do business with you because you communicate with us too much. It's too much. You're communicating with us too much. Never. Now, I have seen people lose business because they did not communicate, right? Terribly. I have leaving companies because I've have no communication, have no idea, what's going on. That is one of the biggest reasons why people leave you or don't do business with you again. I've seen that in the real estate world. They're like, yeah, they did an okay job, but they were terrible communicators. I can't tell you how many times I've been, with people on that deal, and they can even they're just like, yeah, I wouldn't do business with them. And they go, well, yeah, they were nice enough, but it was like their communication was horrible. They didn't, I'm like, so I'm always going to err on the side of over communication. If someone calls me and says, hey, this is why it doesn't happen when we're thinking about them and we're looking at, giving goodwill, value to them. If we're sending them and calling them nonstop about, hey, who do you know that's thinking about needing this or that or whatever, and all my marketing material that I'm emailing and my direct mail is me, look at me, I'm the best, I'm the greatest. Yes. And I'm not saying that you can't have a mixture in there. And I talked about that, right? We want that to be 70, 30, 80, 20 of like, hey, I want to be given goodwill. And then I'm building up this goodwill capital, if you will, right? Inside of my business with people. Because then when I do that, then they're going to be more willing to what? Pick up the phone when I call them. They're going to be likely to read an email or a direct mail piece. Because it hasn't always been about me just being about me. It's about them. And care about what your client wants, what's important to them. And it's not that hey, look, I just won this award because I had this much in production. Nobody cares about that except for you. I'm just being honest. It's just it's the nature of people. And so we got to change the way that we think, and we got to really change the way that we think around making these calls. We have to have a system in place, right? Inside of our CRM, we got to have a way. It's like, hey, this is what's going to trigger me to know that's like, hey, so I made this call, and then inside of that, if you've got the right one, is in 90 days, it's gonna let me know again. It's like to call that person, and it's gonna feel like that 90 days goes just like that because time flies, but that's okay. Just, hey, checking in. God, can you believe it's already almost Christmas? Isn't that awesome? Crazy. What are you guys doing for the holiday? You see what I'm saying? It's like, it's just natural natural conversation. It's ultimately all it is. And so I want you to work on that. That's something that's like, and if you're not doing it all, that's okay. I get it. It's start now. It's just like start building the muscle. It's like going to the gym. And if you're trying to release a certain amount of weight, it's like you're not going to go just one time and it's like, oh, I'm done. This is, again, I talk about it. It's the compound effect. So, and when you start seeing this, and it starts to become a flywheel because, oh, they got a direct mail piece from me. Oh, that was interesting. That was cool. They shared some tips and tricks that I can use in my life. The email, oh, got that. Oh, I got a call, right? And then tomorrow, what I'm going to talk about is I'm going to talk about utilizing text. Just as quick check-ins on that. Especially when we don't reach them, right? But by a phone call. And I'm going to talk about one of the things is using video, like a quick video text. in there too, because then they get to see you. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. I'll go into more detail with that tomorrow. But these are all these touches that we're making, and they're not like, they're just us just like checking in. It's like, hey, oh, hey, Bill's still in that business. He's still in that business. And then it continues to keep me top of mind because, as I said before, up to 5,000 different, we're getting hit with marketing messages, 5,000 a day, right? Of all the things that are just like vying for our attention. And it's just like, woo, it's just like, sometimes it's overload. And when we don't do our part of that, and that's coming from a place of us adding value. It's like, hey, what do you need? What do you need help with? What's going on in your world? Because it may not be something that I can help you with, but I probably know somebody that can. So let me do that. Let me be of service to you, right? Service-based business. It's not just about the service that we offer, whatever that is that, that we do. So that's what I've got for you today. This is part 3, right, of 7, because we have 7 different things, right? And it's not rocket science. This isn't like reinventing the world of this. And so, and we're going to go over the next now, 4 more days. This is week 3, or day 3, actually. We will have covered all of that. And I hope that you guys are getting value from that and you start implementing. If you want a copy of my client engagement, the playbook, the 36 Connect, just drop a comment down below and I'll send it to you. And if you want, the other thing is the categories, the database categorization framework that I use when I talked about that A, B, and C, what that looks like. Again, I know I cover a lot of stuff, relatively quick. I know people's attention span. I know my attention span. I'm going to lose people if it goes on obviously too long. And so if you want either one of those, just drop it in the comments wherever you're consuming this. I know that it's on LinkedIn. It's on my own Facebook page. It's on YouTube, right? Wherever you're consuming it, just drop it in the comments and I'll shoot it over to you in Messenger. You got to just promise me that you'll start to use it. And if you have questions around it, just let me know. And if you have any questions around, hey, how do I get better at this? How do I implement this? Then I'm always open, have a conversation. I talk to people all the time about what does that look like to be able to actually implement this and be consistent and start to building that flywheel of more consistent referrals in your business. Just feel free to connect with me. Always love to have that conversation. So until tomorrow, I'll be back here tomorrow live. Not sure what time between appointments, but I will be back here live tomorrow with part 4. And we're going to talk about utilizing text messaging with some video text in there as well to, again, keep that flywheel going. So have a great rest of your day, everybody. I will see you tomorrow.